Hi, everybody. Hi, Roei. Hi, Michal. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Good, good. Hello to everyone who's joining us for this lovely panel. I'm really, really excited about it. This one's going to be fun. I do know that we have about 20 minutes, which is not a lot because I have a ton of questions for you guys. So I hope that we'll make it through all of them. But if that's okay with you guys, I'll kick off with a quick introduction of you two so our audience will understand who they're going to hear from. So first of all, I'm really excited to introduce Michal Tsur, who is the co-founder and president of Kaltura. Kaltura is the everything video company providing video cloud solutions to any organization. One of Kaltura's main pillars is providing educational institutions with advanced video tools that enhance teaching, learning, and student engagement, both on campus and remotely. Kaltura serves hundreds of schools worldwide, including 15 of the top 20 U.S. universities, and provides video education solutions for ministries of education globally. So you guys can probably understand how busy Kaltura had been in the past few months. Now, to move on to our next guest, we have Roei Deutsch, who's the co-founder and CEO of Jolt. Jolt is the business school of tomorrow, allowing students to join interactive group workshops with like-minded professionals led by industry experts. With campuses in Israel and the UK, Jolt is also thinking about expanding into the US, and Roei would be able to expand or elaborate about that later on. However, they have made an interesting journey during COVID-19, transitioning to online learning, and would love to hear about that. So hi to both. So I'll start and kick us off with a question to both of you. This panel is about real-time learning, the real-time learning experience. And one of the things that might be harder for educators going online is keeping that engagement going. So I'd love to hear from you. What are your top recommendations for keeping students engaged? And yeah, Roei, you can go ahead.
Brilliant. So we made that really a great part of our effort in the last 5 years at Jolt. And we've discovered there are a few things that really make the difference for engagement. The first thing is that, and I think that was discussed prior to me, and I think Kaltura has seen it in some of its products, is that a live group session is critical for the participation of everyone. Obviously, comparing it to recorded video or watching something remotely creates a lot less engagement. We've noticed that there are a few magic points in a learning session that makes the difference. One of them that has become iconic for Jolt sessions is actually presenting all the students one by one in the beginning of every class. So we have this automatic sequence that presents every student one by one with their name and title and picture, and then presents the instructor with their own live narration, kind of like you present someone who's going on stage. That brings two things into creating a well interactive session. One of them is that everyone feels included, which is something that's very hard to do when everyone is remote. And the second thing is framing the session. So a lot of students in academic institutions today complain that they kind of like join a Zoom session, no one has their camera on, the instructor kind of like just starts talking to the screen and doesn't notice anyone. And that framing of the session in a way that everyone are part of this session, you cannot be with your camera off if you were just presented, that would be very rude, is a major part of that. I'll finish with just another magic thing that we're doing. Our bot actually recognizes if someone has their camera off and reaches out to ask them to do that, and we offboard after the session people who do not open their camera. It's becoming an ethical thing I think in remote experiences in general. Being on a remote session that's live and being with your camera or microphone with your camera off is actually now considered, I think, rude and is harmful for the experience of the rest of the participants.
And it's interesting because it's also something that we're seeing in business, right? I mean, every single meeting that we go through is now immediately turned into a video meeting just naturally because of COVID. Michal, your take on the same one?
Yeah, so my take on engagement, which I believe was the question, is that, ultimately engagement has to do both with the content and then with the experience. So, typically I say that content is king, and, For us, we're a technology platform. We're not a content company. So we provide the tools for creating and delivering the content, whether it's, on demand or live or real time. And then, it's up to our customers to actually deliver high quality content, whether making it short, segmenting it, but making the actual content engaging. The interesting thing is that there are many tools to actually make the content itself more engaging and to create content in snackable bits that makes it easier to consume and more engaging in itself, or even, allowing to share video content as part of a live session, which typically is difficult using certain tools where you can't actually share a video. So actually being able to make the content itself engaging, and then the experience where you can, I would divide it into two. One is, the lean forward experience for the students in terms of the actual engagement and interaction with the content, whether it's, creating, interactive video paths and quizzing and hotspots on the videos so that users actually engage with the content through the experience. But then also, and that's something we've seen happening a lot throughout COVID-19, is promoting content creation by the students themselves. So, video assignments, and it's a valid, I guess, request for many types of content, whether it's, for, presentation skills, or if you're in a nursing course and you need to now show how you're doing certain activities, so, or a musician. So there are a lot of things where the performance itself is valuable, and then presenting the content itself. By the way, we've seen a lot of customers in Australia, even conducting exams over video so that they can actually verify that the students are the ones presenting the content and not cheating in the exams.
I think that's an even more fun assignment in general to do, a video assignment rather than just to write something. By the way, Michal, I know that you do have some interesting statistics that you guys have discovered following COVID, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing some statistics with us about some interesting findings from COVID.
So I'll share one piece of statistics. I mean, there's a lot of statistics because everybody's seeing, that numbers are going up, and there are many more virtual sessions, much more content recorded. Everybody's, by the way, recording classes now because not everybody can attend at the same time because we're mixing up our personal lives and the classroom and the education and everything. But the one interesting thing that I noticed, captured my attention, I guess above everything else, was the playback speed. So a lot of the content that is shared through our platform gets recorded and watched and viewed on demand. And, there's that Seinfeld chapter where they talk about close talkers. So apparently online they're slow talkers, and a lot of people are now fast forwarding, and I'd say that in education we've seen it's about 1.7x on average recently, which means people are kind of losing their patience and they want to watch everything much more efficiently. And this is something, by the way, you cannot do in a live session. So if I'm not boring somebody, you cannot fast forward this because you don't know what I'm going to say. But in a on-demand recorded session, you could actually fast forward and watch it more efficiently.
It only makes me feel like I need to talk faster. So Roei, I'm going to ask you to answer this question as fast as you can. No, I'm just kidding. You can answer in any pace that you want. On your guys' end, has the content of classes maybe changed since COVID? Because you guys are focusing on business-related content, and the way that we do business has changed as well. Has the content changed in any way, or are there classes that became more popular than others following COVID-19?
Yes, of course. So one of our advantages as a business school that's also a startup is our ability to respond fast to changes in the market and to changes in demand. And one of the things we've seen immediately in the start of the crisis is people looking for transformation in their careers. So a lot of industries are crashing down, and people are looking to kind of like run from them. And the second thing that's happening is people are very much looking for, as the way from our perspective, additional sources of revenue. So people who have lost, for our generation, this is probably the first time we're experiencing lack of job security. And people are looking at the tech industry. They're looking at some industry that have survived this crisis better than others. And they see that some people are able to create additional revenue streams, and they're looking for ways to do that. I don't know to say if it's necessarily possible or easy. And it's almost like, when we started talking about building content for it, we were like, Jolt is too much of a serious business to do something that sounds like make money off the internet, right? That's kind of like the big cliche of bad content. But people are looking for ways to make money off the internet, literally, because of the way we're seeing, industries like e-commerce and different online services, the gig economy, things like how to sell your, freelance skills on Fiverr. We do see an increase in that.
That is I'm gonna go ahead and start seeing what I can do myself and look into that content. I'm pretty sure that there are lots of people indeed looking for that, and the way that you guys provide, I guess, provide that content, that the way that you teach varies and it changes. And it brings me to another question to you, Michal. When you're thinking about future of education, is there a difference between education versus learning?
Yeah, definitely. So, by the way, a lot of the conversation is kind of mixed up. So, a lot of people are talking about the future of education when in fact they're talking about the future of learning and vice versa. Because when you think of the role of education, it spans way beyond, the learning and the knowledge and the degrees, and even the research. I mean, when you think of, education as it has been for many years, it's, a lot about also creating communities and networks in the institutions. It's long-lasting networks that then follow us and become our business networks. We go jogging and we go to coffee shops and we go and some certain sports clubs and, each of us with our personal interests. But these networks really cease to exist online. And, that's, by the way, part of the thought process we've been going through recently as we're thinking of, how do we actually design technology better so that it not only address, future of learning, but it can actually address the future of education. Because, if we do need to actually replace a lot of the experiences that have been going on in the physical world, the learning itself is insufficient. So how do you actually, continue building those communities? A lot of, think of, students who come from abroad and now will actually be left out and will not become a true part of a community. So a lot of the design process we're putting into, thinking of technology is how do we actually replace those experiences, and that's why, future of education is definitely different than, the future of learning, and a lot will still happen in the coming few years as these experiences change. It's not just about moving the learning online. It's about really creating these types of experiences. By the way, leveraging also the opportunities and actually even the advantages that online sometimes offers. Doesn't always offer advantages. So everybody's very excited, and early on the big focus with technology has been on how do we actually address the massive move online at scale. So everybody's been looking at scale and actually the communication itself, but
I don't know if you guys can all hear Michal. But Roei, I was about to transition that to you to actually ask you, thinking about the benefits that video might have, I actually had two questions to you following what Michal just said. One would be, what are the benefits of moving online that you guys are seeing? And also, how do you create that continuity of actually creating a real community around classes? I know this is one of the things that Jolt is aspiring to create, but how do you really create that online? Is it harder? And if not, what are the benefits of that?
Well, it's a complicated answer because I really agree with Michal's differentiation between learning and education. And I think in general, moving things online doesn't make them, better, and it doesn't just quite work. It's kind of like translating language. If you just translate Hebrew to English, you can see that in Google Translate. It doesn't quite work. There's context that you have to get. There's a lot of soul that doesn't go through just like translating one by one. And it's kind of like that with learning, because if you just transfer a lecture into online, and all universities on the planet have done it through Zoom and through Kaltura for that matter, it doesn't make the content great. As Michal said, content has to be built for remote learning. And just in the same way, if we do an incredible remote session and then record it, it doesn't make it good recorded content. Recorded content is a completely different production than live content, and we know that by trying to watch live shows on VOD, it just doesn't feel the same, right? There's something about live that is just is a bit different. We see that a lot now with Jolt because we've been very busy in the last 5 years just building, what that context is, and now you know that personally, what is the additional things that a student has to get, what does operational excellence looks like, what is actually delivering a learning experience that is for 2020 looks like. And we're seeing now a lot of universities, and that is something that is happening for the first time in Jolt's history. We see so many universities reach out to us to get services from us, which by the way we don't provide at this point, but we're started considering it because of the amount of the volume of reach out. And that is, they come to us and say, okay, we have been able to operate Zoom or Kaltura. We've been able to put this on to put our people on video calls, and now everything else isn't a good fit for our remote education. How do you create that community? How do you create student services? How do you create networking? How do you create groups? How do you create testing and projects and mentorship and everything, career services, everything universities have been providing through bricks and mortar now has to be somehow available online. And we've been doing that at Jolt with a combination of technology and military level operations that is required to deliver something of high quality on scale. And we are seeing universities struggling with that right now. So I cannot agree more with Michal. Technology has to be incredible. It has to be excellent, as good as Kaltura's products. And then there's a gigantic layer on top of that the institution kind of like has to solve itself. If there are any institutions watching, I don't want to be discouraging, but rather encouraging, because this is the biggest opportunity ever for smaller institutions to become really, really big, given that we're seeing the biggest struggle with the biggest institutions. So naturally, when we start getting these reach outs and we start getting on calls, we were excited about all the big names reaching out, and we went on calls. And no, you might know it from Kaltura when you talk to like the big guys, and they tend to be the slowest to move, the most resilient to innovation and change. And then the smaller guys, the medium ones, those are the ones to look out for, because in the United States, I think colleges and postgraduate education institutions that are in the Financial Times ranking, not 1 to 10, but rather 10 to 50, are going to be the ones doing the greatest leap in the next few years, because of the gap in the market that they are now experiencing and are able to jump faster. We're going to see a lot of surprises from these guys in the next few months.
And I must agree with you. We are seeing that in Kaltura. Yeah, Michal, go ahead. We do have one more minute left, so.
Sure. No, I'll just say that one of the things that to supplement what Roei said is, you can actually overcome the dimension of space, which you cannot in the physical world really easy. So you can expand really fast, whether with the number of classes, the number of breakouts, sessions, and these are things that you could not do in the physical world, and you can do it very quickly online. You can actually leverage, instructors in an efficient way online. So these are things to consider as institutions are thinking of their, global play as well as local play and expansion.
More room for, I don't want to say the little guys, but for the smaller guys. Guys, I'm going to thank you so much. It was a pleasure interviewing two really big guys. So thank you. I hope that our audience also enjoyed this session, and I wish you a great rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.